Hi, friends. My name's host Eric. I'm the host of Talking with Famous People. And if you know me and my experience in life, then you know sometimes I wake up mad. Sometimes I wake up sad. Today I've woken up Brad. I've not ever been Brad before, so I'm not quite sure what to expect being Brad. But I'll tell you right off the bat, it's a little bit of a different experience for me, waking up Brad. Hi, Legends Fall. I'm Brad. Pleased to meet you. Call me Bradley, Braderson, Bradrington, Bradalicious. Don't get mad, get Brad. That's my saying. That's been my saying all day since I woke up today. Because I woke up Brad. The thing is, the key point to take away here actually is that I didn't exactly wake up mad. I woke up a combination of emotions. I was a little annoyed. I was also kind of sad. I feel kind of guilty. I feel kind of guilty for that conversation with rational typology that I had. Which I think people would probably... I don't know what people would think if they were to actually send me that video and I were to publish it. They might think, wow, Eric, you're such an asshole. Or they might think, yeah, I'm not Eric. I do know an Eric, but she's a short black woman. The thing about that rational typology conversation is, at one point this happened. I was getting a little frustrated, and I said, look, I don't really have time for a remedial thinking class here. And the guy said, what's that? I shit you not. I shit you not. Can you believe that? Is that as shocking to you as it was to me? It's like, boy, talk about tilting at windmills here. What am I trying to do? Who am I trying to talk to and explain things to? What is the purpose of this? I'm never going to get anywhere, obviously. Isn't that a weird phenomenon that just that happened to me in that conversation? You're frustrated. You're trying to say something kind of insulting. Well, not kind of insulting to these people. This guy. And he's so worthy of the insult that he doesn't understand it. What do you do then? What do you do then, you know? Oh, good, Bozo's here. We've been waiting. Nobody's thrown any buckets of confetti on me yet. And since I've woken up Brad, this is maybe my first and last opportunity as Brad to have, well, see, that's the thing, Peter Dentici. It's like, I get that somebody might not know the word remedial, and that's fine, and that's understandable. But I would expect a person to be able to glean from the context and what's going on in the conversation the gist of what I mean, you know? I don't ever wake up Chad. That involves too much puss slaying. And for me, it's just like raking the leaves, you know, it's just a task. It's like, God, more puss to slay? Well said, Legends Fall. Well said. I wake up Chad because I go to sleep Chad, motherfuckers. That's very Chadly of you, Legends Fall. I appreciate that. I respect ESTP's dominion over the land of Chad. That's not my kingdom, so I don't care. I don't want to be that kingdom. ESTPs can and should have that kingdom. It's one of the reasons why Legends Fall and I get along, right? We don't really the Venn diagram of us stomping on each other's toes area is pretty small, and the areas that aren't stomping on each other's toes is pretty big. So it's like ESTPs and I get along pretty well. How does one get over their ex? That's very straightforward, Brando memes. Poke your way to a new reality. That's what you got to do. You got to poke your way to a new reality. And when I say poke, I mean like this. I think that's the best answer. I bet Legends Fall will validate that answer is correct. And, really you should ask ESTPs more than ENTPs about these sort of things. It was actually an ESTP who pointed out to me one day, the first thing you should do when considering dating a chick or whatever is check to see if you actually like her and find her sexy. I was like, oh, those things matter? And it's like they deal with their FI polar a little bit better than ENTPs do in regards to chicks anyway, I'm assuming that they were talking dudes here in heteronormative town, okay? I'm being extremely heteronormative right now, so hey, Eric, you better knock that off. Well, I'm not being heteronormative. I'm just being my experience normative, Oh, any 8 tries to show that I have tons of other options. Whereas, like, for me, the answer is actually always the same. Get next girlfriend. SE. Get next girlfriend. Like when Kimberly and I broke up, what did I do? I went onto the internet and said, okay, I guess I need a new girlfriend now. Who wants the job? Does anybody want the job? Rachel wanted the job, so worked out great. Because I hate dating. I absolutely despise it. During the brief period of time when I was single between Kimberly and Rachel, my approach, silly though it might sound, produced situations where I went to this like room and there was like a video conference room and there was like several women there, basically like auditioning or something. And I was just like, okay, I cannot deal with this. This is not me. I am not that guy. I cannot handle this. This is no. I'm not playing dating game, bachelor guy, bachelorette number 1. What do you think? No fucking way can I do that. Oh, it was so awkward for me. A video that's a modern day VHS tape for dating. I mean, I have some excellent videos on dating. I have a playlist called Chicks and Dating, I think it's called. No, I've never been with a prostitute. I have been to a titty bar before. And in Mexico, where you were able to actually touch their breast. But that's as close to prostitutes as I've ever been. I would never, I don't even think I'd be able to perform the deed with a prostitute because I'm so meaning driven, you know? Like, Eric, have you ever seen Steve? You mean Bob Odenkirk? Or does Bob Odenkirk have a brother who's also an actor or something? Yeah, take care of your prostate. Take care of your prostate and it will take care of you. One of the worst things you can do is no fap. Okay, don't ever think that's a good idea. That's how your prostate gets bad. My prostate was more or less fine until I had about a year in which I decided to just focus on things other than trying to get the next girlfriend. I had it like a year of relationship sabbatical, chick sabbatical. After Candace, I spent a couple of weeks chasing this chick down, who I ended up humping a couple of times, but determined that okay, like trying to be a single dating person and like pursuing and humping chicks and stuff is absolutely not for me. It is way too much time and energy for way too little payoff. And so I went about a full year without any sexual intercourse with anybody, but also during that time I really sort of turned off the sex part of me, which means I basically wasn't fapping either. Occasionally I would, you know. But at the end of that year, that's when my prostate started being like fussy. So, Steve Odenkirk, Oedekirk. My mistake. I misread the spelling of the last name, which makes me a complete failure. Everybody shame and mock me for my failure. I deserve it. What's the best pairing for an INTP? Well, I'm going to throw it out there again, Mr. Putler Gollum. I know it sounds crazy. I know you might think, but who'd want to be with an INFP? Well, I think maybe an INTP would. Personally, I wouldn't want to be with an INFP because I've been with one before and it's way too intense. It's just like emotion town. Oh my god. It's just so much emotion. But it's unbearable. But for INTPs, you know, they don't have that weird polar thing going on that I got. So yeah, that's what I'm saying is obviously for me, INFP was a disastrously bad choice. Now, I should mention she was, I mean, there were reasons why she was very pretty, and there were a couple of very big reasons why I hit that shit. Why I flew to Tennessee to hit that shit, you know? But it was unbearable, all the emotion and stuff. It was the most volatile thing I'd ever been in with somebody who wasn't like BPD or something. It was just so volatile. Of course, that thing had lots of bad things going along with it. Yeah, I took my trip to INFP Town for a couple of very big reasons. I'm sorry if I revealed the shallowness of myself that you haven't heretofore known. But you know what? Well, my takeaway from it was I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy the experience. It was... Well, it wasn't a long-term monogamous relationship. And I just can't handle that. I can't handle when shit's not nailed down what its status is, you know? I do have what's sometimes called Brad Person's disorder, although technically the name in the DSM now is excessive Brad syndrome. Well, I mean, I don't have a lot of experience with INFPs. She could have been an outlier. I mean, she was an outlier no matter what you... no matter what personality type you want to plot her on the graph, she was definitely an outlier. Talking about couple, I wonder if there are any ENTJs. ENTJ looking for couple by starting to see validation from outside, such as the more competitor, the more exciting they will be. I mean, I kind of think that seems like a TENI frame of reference in general, like trying to determine the value of the other person by the amount of competition for them. Hi, Aga Anim. How are you this morning? Rachel and I were talking about how we want you to become Frank James's girlfriend. And then we had a conversation about how quickly you'd forget all about us. I said, oh, she'd forget all about us. Rachel's like, no, she wouldn't. She wouldn't forget all about us. Yeah, she would. Well, I think I'll probably make a video titled Frank James. I have Frank James's perfect girlfriend. I have the perfect girlfriend for Frank James. Something like that. Or just the perfect girlfriend number 4, Frank James. You gotta keep your titles short. It's hard to title shit, you know. Titling is kind of a challenge. Requires a lot of NI to title, you know. I used to title really NE and eventually came to realize I was just being a complete idiot. I used to title shit like this live stream titled Waking Up Brad. I'd title things whatever seemed funny to me in the moment. You know. Like, is my ceramic cup made out of Kevlar? just whatever phrase seemed funny to me at the moment. That's a bad way to title things. Hey, Winston's mom, I've got a great idea. What we're going to do is we're going to take the core of your idea there and turn it into clickbait misleading time. I found Frank James's lost love. Juicy. Except it's really not the girl he once saw at the airport. Instead, it's just Aga. Sorry, Aga. We could pretend you were the girl that he saw at the airport. What happened to the stream? Just you? I don't know. Did the stream stop working? Maybe it was your mom's face got in the way. That often happens. You could say, I've talked to this lady, and her name's Aga. I'll mispronounce it, okay? Her name's Aga. And apparently she was at that airport. Or at or near that airport. Around the same time when you were at or near that airport. The funny thing is, when I watch your video, Frank James comes from app ads, you're my type. I don't know what that means. Top 7 reasons this is Frank James's perfect match. Not a bad title, but I would say you got to get GF in there somewhere, because it's kind of, if you're a Frank James fan, like Rachel is. Like, Rachel knows Frank James's story from watching his videos, and like, I don't, but she does, and he apparently has this story that people who are Frank James fans know, that he saw this girl at the airport that he was really smitten by, but didn't say anything, and she flew away, and he missed his chance. And it's like, for girls, I think that story, when they heard Frank James tell it, it made them all go like this. Oh. I think it made all of the girls. I think it made all of the girls go like that. Well, I mean, the only way Frank James is ever going to see that video that I make is going to have to like be juicy enough to make him go, all right, I got to see what this says. Hey, Lee man, that's what I'm all about. Stereotypes and generalizations. Like, you're a stereotypical Slim Jim eater. Frank James is an INFJ. Yeah, just like I'm a stereotypical Brad. I act like a Brad. I look like a Brad. I have 2 folding brass legs like a Brad. Get it? That was a pun. You know those things? Those are called Brads. You know what I'm talking about? Does everybody know that kind of Brad I'm talking about? That's not a person named Bradley. That was a pretty great pun on my part, huh? Lee Mann was especially impressed. But he always is. He sent me private emails before saying, "Oh, Eric, let me worship at your feet." And I say, "Lee Mann, I'm Brad. Today I'm Brad." Naturally, he feels demoralized, despondent, I guess you could say, afterwards, after getting that pushback from me. But I'm not responsible for his feelings, okay? That's why I can be as mean as I want and bear no consequences. I'm just kidding, Lee, man. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be mean to you. I mean, I'll use it sometimes, like everything else. This title has Brad in it. Most of my titles don't. Who here has used Brads since elementary school? I remember using Brads in elementary school. to affix things. Alright, fine. That's fair. Lee man, that's fair. Today I'm Brad, so I can get away with anything. Everybody knows if your name's Bradley, you can pretty much get away with anything. Especially if your last name has INGTON somewhere in it. Like Bradley Worthingtons would be that. Bradley Worthingtons can get away with anything. Don't you already hate Bradley Worthingtons before you even know anything about him? I'm Bradley Worthingtons. Ooh, you smug upper crust meow. Is what you want to say to Bradley Worthingtons. No, I don't think I ever got any Brads stuck up my nose. I just remember compiling little books out of construction paper using Brads. And I really probably haven't thought about Brads much since elementary school until today's live stream, in which the subject of Brads has suddenly become much more relevant than it normally is. You know, I wasn't one to stick things up my nose. I did one time have to go to the doctor to get removed from my ear canal a mechanical pencil eraser. So I was putting the mechanical pencil, the eraser. You know how those erasers, I don't know if they still do. They're little erasers and they come out of the hole in the mechanical pencil where they go into. They slide in and out. Anyway, I got one stuck in my ear canal, and I just couldn't get it out. It was pushed way down in there, and I couldn't get it out. And we had to go to the doctor, and he fished it out of there. So that's the only thing I've ever gotten stuck in an orifice that I can recall. I've never had to go to the hospital and tell one of those stories like, well, I sat down on a bottle. Apparently, if you work at the emergency room, you hear a lot of those kind of stories. But, yeah, I've never gotten anything stuck up an orifice except for that time when I got the mechanical pencil eraser stuck in my ear canal. The metal band that attaches the pencil body with an eraser is called a ferrule. Well, mechanical pencils don't have that, but I appreciate the vocabulary lesson. Nevertheless, I did not know that. And I'm going to give you one in return, Winston's mom. I'm going to give you one in return. In case you don't know, the part of the basketball hoop thing assembly that's not the backboard or the rim or the hoop, but that holds it there, is called the stanchion. That's the stanchion. So if the ball hits the stanchion, it's out of bounds. Isn't that interesting? And also, in pencil basketball, if the ball hits the ferrule, it's out of bounds. Yeah, well, obviously, Sean Ryan Barron. That's why I only use Eric brand approved anal brushes and Eric brand approved. Somebody's calling Rachel from New York, but stanchion. Yeah, I think it is spelled like that, but Google it and see. I know it because of this fantastic Timothy Steele poem called Practice. I'll try to pull up the poem and read it to you. Because, you know, what I found, if you want your live stream to be really packed with attendees, the one thing that everybody loves and everybody will stick around for is a poetry reading. Nobody doesn't love a poetry reading. Practice by Timothy Steele. Now let me just tell you right off the bat, Timothy Steele, if you're interested in reading a good poet, well, Timothy Steele's your guy, okay? Timothy Steele is who you should be reading right now. You should be reading his shit. That's a good poet. I'll read it to you. The basketball you walk around the court produces a hard, stinging, clean report. You pause and crouch, and after fainting swoop around a ghost defender to the hoop, and rise and lay the ball in off the board. Solitude, plainly, is its own reward. The game that you've conceived engrosses you. The ball rolls off, you chase it down, renew the dribble to the level of your waist. Ensuring that as sneakers tightly laced, you kneel, then up again, weave easily through obstacles that you alone can see. And so I drop the hands I'd just now cupped to call you home. What? For fuck's sake. That's such bullshit. This website is terrible. They ruined my reading of that poem. It totally ruined my reading of that poem. Why? Because they decided to... They have so much shit pulling up all over the place, and then eventually it made it so I couldn't even read the poem. So fuck you, poemhunter.com. Okay? Do you hear me? Do you hear my words? That's right. They weren't kind words. They weren't soft words. I was saying harsh words to you, poemhunter.com. Poemcunterhot.com is more like it. You know what I'm saying? Poemcunter.com? Poemcunterhotdom? Alright. Now listen. I'm going to read this poem again, goddammit. And this time, I'm not going to have any shit from Poemcunterpotdom. Okay? Are we all in agreement about that? I hope so. Here we go. This time you get to read along with me. It's going to be fun. You're going to love it. You're going to be like, damn, Eric, you let us read the poem along with you? We're like, I'm just that kind of cool. Here we go. A poem. The basketball you walk around the court produces a hard, stinging, clean report. You pause and crouch, and after fainting swoop around a ghost defender to the hoop, and rise and lay the ball in off the board. Solitude, plainly, is its own reward. The game that you've conceived engrosses you. The ball rolls off, you chase it down, renew the dribble to the level of your waist. Ensuring that a sneaker is tightly laced, you kneel, then up again, weave easily through obstacles that you alone can see. And so I drop the hands I'd just now cupped to call you home. Why should I interrupt? Can I be sure that dinner's ready yet? A jump shot settles, snapping through the net. The backboard's stanchion keeps the ball in play, returning it to you on ricochet. I don't think you should have put the. For meter purposes. So I have a slight disagreement with Timothy Steele there. I don't include the. I think it's extraneous. But as you can tell, that's a good fucking poem, right? That's what I'm talking about, aesthetics. It's like, you know when I say aesthetics are objective. If you don't think that's a good poem, you've got shitty taste in everything. That's an amazingly good poem. You know, it's a shockingly good poem, and it's not even his best poem. I'm Brad today, not your business. I woke up Brad. There's no guarantee I'm going to stay Brad all day. I feel like I'm kind of shifting back into Eric. I may be Breric right now, or I could be Arad. How are you doing, Nacho Business? Or is it not my business? And if that's the case, that's okay. Winston's mom, the reason I know about Timothy Steele is if you want me to be a C.S. Joseph guy and tell you about my mentors, Timothy Steele is my mentor. He taught me how to write poetry. So that's why I write metered verse, is because he was my poetry teacher at Cal State LA. Not studying poetry as the literature class, but it was a writing poetry class. I was the only one who could do it, really, in the class, but I killed it, you know. But Timothy Steele is a master whose work my own doesn't attain the level of greatness of his. So he remains for me a mentor in abstract. I hope someday I could write a poem as good as his poems. You know, he's somebody I respect and acknowledge the superiority of. Legends Fall, that's poetry right there. Okay, that is a beautiful poem you just wrote. That's why poetry's awesome. I could understand if they slipped and fell into some poetry. Could happen to anyone. But on purpose? That's like a haiku, you know? It's like an American haiku. Yeah. Incredibly good luck on my part. Incredibly good luck. I went to Cal State LA, took this poetry writing class, and that guy happened to be the professor. Shockingly good luck. I guess so. Legends Fall, yeah. That's good advice, not your business. That is good advice. So, I don't talk about my mentors very often because I don't have very many. The two people I really consider mentors are like Timothy Steele and Corey. I mean, my dad, of course, but he keeps mentoring me in shit that I'm forever bad at. So I just feel like a continual failure every time I'm with him. Um, I've always been very enamored by my own turns of phrase. So if I say something in a clever way, or I'm just talking and something spills out super smooth, like a bunch of words that are both fun, unique, interesting, newish sounding, snappy. If it hits on all those metrics, it really makes me feel like that I'm being Eric at his maximal. So it makes sense that I would want to write poetry, but I find myself more writing kids poetry. I'm not really sure why, except it's somehow easier in that I get the concept of what I'm trying to do better. I don't think I could write a poem like Practice. It's it's just so accomplished. It's unbelievably accomplished, you know. I, that's what I would say about it. Is it's a shockingly accomplished piece of work. So, like, here's the poem I wrote to compare against it. This is a good poem. This is vastly better than most anything you see published as kids' poetry, okay? But it's nothing as good as Timothy Steele's work. I guess I'll put this up on the screen for you to see too. Did you ever know that you're my Spiro? My vice president, I'm Richard Nixon. Those lyrics don't fit there, Eric. You silly goose. Alright, let's pull this poem up and we can read it together. This is a poem that I wrote. It's called Francis and the Dents. God damn it. I guess that's as far as it goes. Okay. Anyway, here we go. There was a girl named Frances Goss who knew There was a girl named Frances Goss who knew what lived between her teeth, who was obsessed with dental floss, who queried then her brother Keith if teeth left unattended bore some little creatures who would build a hut or two, a general store, a barber shop, a chandler's guild, a stable with a smithy near, until the motor car replaces, a ballroom with a chandelier where they would go to dance their paces. Her brother indicated yes, and told her they were called the Dents. He warned his sister, don't forget, the Dents would squat and pay no rents. These creatures were a nasty bunch, who trod inside with mud on shoes, who got in food fights every lunch, who loudly voiced offensive views. But Keith again, now as before, made Frances roll her eyes a bit. She knew already so much more than he about these fabled Dents. In truth, she'd known when she'd asked, had learned of them from Puckertart. Yet she showed fear, though quite relaxed, that brother Keith might feel smart. These dents sound dangerous indeed, said Frances to the older Keith. I'll turn to you when next I need advice about my lovely teeth. But Frances's dents long ago had bended to her management, and long since learned how to forego their sloppiness and damaging. In fact, she'd put dents into groups and sent them out as work for hire. They passed out flyers, jumped through hoops, and worked for years and then retired. And Frances kept inside her mouth, behind her second bottom molar, an old folks' home, built facing south, and powered green with only solar. Which brings us back to dental floss, the way that Frances kept things clean and stopped her dents from getting cross, and thus became their royal queen. So, this poem is about flossing. It encourages children to floss. Ridiculously. I don't know. Right? Can you can, yeah. Oh, you go in that door or whatevs. SI poem? Well, it's a kid's poem, you know? I had a notion for a while that I was going to write a book of kids' poetry. And then I realized that the truth is, one long poem like that with illustrations, I accidentally spilled your bong earlier. One long poem like that with illustrations comprises a kid's book if you're presenting poetry. The challenge is this. There's not really much of a market for what you might call elementary or intermediate elementary level kids poetry. So people want like beginning reader books of poetry that only have a limited vocabulary of like 100 words, or they want like literary poetry that they teach to kids in high school. It's all about diversity and shit, you know. So the thing is, I don't know if there's a market for poems like that or not, but that's why I was writing that stuff. Was I thought I can do this. I can write kids poetry. I can write good kids poetry. I see nothing but garbage. I mean, Dr. Seuss being the exception, obviously. Why is Dr. Seuss so much better than all the other kids poets? Because he understands meter correctly. You know, it's like when you're writing poetry, you should be able to recite the thing without words, just with syllables, and have it clearly have a rhythm to it, you know? Like, Francis is also the main character in Spudbrow Spree. Both of those poems are things you can or some other consistent kind of rhythmic device, right? And that's really the difference between good poetry and just garbage. Is the person doing the craft of writing poetry or not? If you're writing so-called free verse, which is just poetry that doesn't care or pay any attention to meter, then you're just wasting everybody's time, in my opinion. Your little vignette of words is not meaningful as a poem. It's not a piece of work, you know? It's just you expressing yourself or something. It's like, stop expressing yourself. That's a means, not an end, okay? If you think expressing yourself is an end, you're never going to make anything good. I mean, that probably is the single best universal rule of aesthetics I could come up with that actually is close to a universal rule of aesthetics. I've never tried to think of one before even. But that is probably a universal rule of aesthetics. If you think expressing yourself is an end in itself, you are doomed to fail aesthetically. That's as good a universal rule of aesthetics as you can come up with, probably. Because, you know, everybody loves the smell of their own farts, but most other people don't. That's why you gotta make your farts smell like other people's farts. You gotta make a fart that smells, for each person who smells it, that it smells like their own fart. That would be the key. It's a smell shifting fart. Contextually smell shifting. So I'm going to make a video in a little bit. I'm probably going to end this live stream and make this video. It's really sort of a lesson on mapping and territories. So I made this video sometime back. I'll find it. I'll find a link to it and link it here. And it's called Can You Sing a Chicken to Sleep in Under a Minute? Okay. Can You Sing a Chicken to Sleep in Under a Minute is the title of it. No. I said chicken. Alright. Here's a link to it. In this fine video, hear and see me apparently singing the chicken to sleep. Okay, so the thing about that video is, she talked my penis to sleep is a good line. It's a great line. So in this video, it appears that I'm singing this chicken to sleep, right? The thing is, it's an excellent example to say, let's talk about object, subject, agent, mapping, and territory. So the default way to approach that video is that the singer is the subject, the chicken is the object, and the viewer is the agent. And from those perspectives, it would appear that I sing that chicken to sleep, right? That's the conclusion, the natural conclusion to draw, because that's the natural arrangement of you and the things you're viewing, right? You as an agent views a subject take action on an object is the natural way of things. Of course, if you shift perspectives a little bit and think about what I as an agent before and after that video knew, then it shifts your mapping of the thing, right? So it's like if you are not a very good mapper, you map that video as Eric can sing chickens to sleep. That's Red, no Captain. Her name was Officer Red or Red. And what actually happened, of course, was I saw the chicken going to sleep. It was probably already all the way asleep. I put on the camera. It probably just gone to sleep. I started my barking, woke it up, and then continued singing until it went back to sleep. So that's what actually happened, right? There's no me singing the chicken to sleep at all. So the question of how you map things is one that requires you to think of these different perspectives, right? Like, well, from the default perspective, me viewer as agent, Eric singing as subject, chicken as object being sung to, it is what it appears to be. But if you factor in the fact that a correct map includes, wow, thanks, Ike.
Thanks, Ike. Cool.
That you are transformed into that huge monster guy for sure, right there. I appreciate it. That's fantastic. Thank you. So the point is, like, when we're mapping cognitive functions, it's the same kind of thing. You've got people jumping to conclusions like that all the time without considering the multiple angles, right? That the subject in the video being watched is also an agent. You know, so it's like Rachel and I like to watch this thing called Paranormal Caught on Camera, and some of the videos are pretty trippy and impressive, and you go like, wow, what the hell is going on there? And some of them though I can see right through them. Like they had this one thing where this guy was moving his arms around and making the leaves blow really fast. Well, it was obvious that the leaves were blowing that way naturally, and he went there and started timing his arms with it, and it looked like he was doing it. It's the classic, what's called a Texas sharpshooter fallacy. The Texas sharpshooter fallacy, a guy drives down a road in Texas and he sees the side of this barn, and it's got all these bullseyes on it, and every single one of them has a shot dead center in the bullseye. And he gets out his car and he looks and goes like, wow, whoever lives here must be the best shot in the world. Which is to say, every single shot taken on the side of this barn is bang, bang, dead in the square in the center of the circle. Except what actually happened was somebody shot at the barn, and then afterwards somebody painted bullseyes around them, you know? So, what about INFP and ENFP together, the couple? I don't know. I've never thought about that couple before, really. I'm not sure how that would go. Probably pretty well. I think they'd sort of. I mean, it'd be like INTP and ENTP, where you at a certain point realize that they're backwards on their values about everything. So it's like they're not like INTPs. Ultimately, originality, creativity, and stuff is not an end in itself. It's just a means to an end. For me, it's an end in itself if it validates on NI. So, you know, a good joke that is amply worth it, but just by virtue of being a good joke, and there's no reason to expect it to serve any further purpose. INTP and ENFP, ooh, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that's a good idea because you don't want your dominant to be their polar. I don't think it's a good idea. Someone differentiates between camaraderie compatibility and intimacy compatibility, which I think is correct, but he shall remain unnamed. I mean, I think there's a difference for sure. It's like I don't think that's in any dispute. Everybody agrees that it's possible for two people to have a very passionate but volatile and unsustainable relationship. I don't think anybody would dispute that, right? So that's not really a claim being made by anybody in particular. That's just sort of common knowledge, common sense, that yes, it's true that two people can be very sexually attracted to each other and then not really get along that well. That's obviously the case. But you can have both as well. The thing is, I don't think that links quite so strongly that particular aspect. I mean, it might link to functions. It links somewhat. I find that I don't find ENTP girls to be like girls. They're more like siblings or something. So, I don't know. But, I went on one date with an ESP female and we got on great, but neither of us wanted to pursue anything beyond that. I totally get what you're talking about. I'd never been on a date with an ENTP girl, but it's like you're two quarterbacks, you know, and you enjoy throwing back and forth the ball to each other because you both have a chance to throw the ball, but really you're looking for a receiver. You know, you're not looking for another quarterback. You are the quarterback. Yeah, I mean, I think that's really the key to getting into a happy relationship is to have both. You have to have camaraderie compatibility, or else the relationship can't possibly last. But if you don't have sexual compatibility, then it also can't last. And I mean, yes, it can start and persist for a while. Like my last relationship, we were very sexually incompatible. But you know, stupid Eric. Sensory things aren't relevant. They are relevant. ESTPs understand this better than ENTPs do. The thing is, because like I think a lot more about how what's the word, camaraderie compatible Rachel and I are, because we obviously spend a lot more time together not having sex than we do having sex. But the reason I'm liberated to think about that is because there's no problems in the sexual area. It's like there's no incompatibility there. If there were incompatibility there and that wasn't working, then I wouldn't be able to appreciate all of the camaraderie, you know? Because at the end of the day, it's like a healthy relationship really, in my opinion, needs to have fairly regular sexual intercourse. Man, it should be like easy squeezy, both people leave feeling good about themselves, right? It shouldn't involve any shame and humiliation or other awful shit that you get with a BPD person. Excuse my drawers. So it's like regarding that chicken thing, the correct way to map it turns out to be that it's a presentation of how a correlation of 1 is not a good reason to map something. So there's no doubt with that chicken thing that the correlation is as strong as it can possibly be. Right? The correlation between me singing and that chicken going to sleep in under 1 minute is 1. That's as strong as a correlation can possibly be. And yet there's no causality there at all. If anything, my singing was keeping the chicken awake. Right? And that's the kind of thing people need to be aware of if they're going to map stuff, right? So when Rational Typology guy, when I began that conversation with, I said, first of all, I'm not sure if you guys are wrong or not. I'm basing my conclusion that you're wrong on hearsay. In other words, I've not actually heard you explain your shit yourself. I've just heard somebody else explain your shit to me. So that's obviously not good enough reason for me to make that claim, so I retract it for now. And but we can find out if I do disagree. And he's like, well, what did you hear that you disagreed with? And I said, well, I heard that you don't think that TI comprises objective or logical reasoning. And what it immediately collapsed down into was me having to explain the difference between conditionality and causality, which he basically disputed the existence of, right? He disputed that there was a difference between causality and conditionality. So I was trying to explain that. And it's like, the thing is, conditionally, you can conclude that I put the chicken to sleep if, and you'd set up a bunch of conditions, like if, in fact, the chicken were fully awake before the singing began, if, in fact, the individual could repeat this act at various times of the day, if, in fact, if, in fact, while the chicken were busy doing something else, like pecking at stuff on the ground, and the guy could walk up to it and start singing and go to sleep. If you could replicate it in these various other capacities, then you could eliminate variables that might otherwise explain it, and then it would be the case that this guy would have sung the chicken to sleep. Because there's a bunch of conditionals, you can make an absolutely true statement that takes no risk, right? Poor rooster. So it's like, I don't know if you look on the comments of that video, if I recall correctly, a lot of people responded to it with like, when I made it, I thought it's like it's obviously a joke, but I think a lot of people responded with like, wow, that's amazing.
I probably would have.
Right. So, when it comes to mapping things, right, we have to check ourselves for susceptibility to mapping mix-ups. Another way to do that is with my question about salty foods. I'll ask it now, and you can... Why is it that none of these people ever ask me to go on their show? Why do you suppose that is? It's like, why is it that Joyce Mang, who's I've seen interviewed multiple people at Intp, she's interviewed before, Intp or whatever, why hasn't she asked me to be on her show? Rational Typology had me on their show for 30 minutes and immediately took it down. What the fuck, That guy, what's his name? He does some sort of like political thing. It's called like, he's an INTP. He's interviewed me a couple of times. No, it wasn't an interview. I said they were wrong. They emailed me and they said they wanted to talk about it. I should have emailed them something that said like, that's fine, but you really need to think hard about this before you do this, because you probably don't want to, because you are wrong and you're not going to be able to win any of these arguments at all. You're not even going to... It's like, all I have to do is ask him a few basic questions that anybody who actually thought about things well would have considered, and display his abject lack of consideration of those questions, and it's going to reveal in a second that he doesn't know his ass from a fucking bucket of watermelons. What the fuck, Benjamin? You interview everybody under the sun. Not me. Of course, my darling. I'm too hot to handle. For some reason, I find that very flattering. Too hot to handle. It's funny. The thing is, I will answer anybody's questions. And that's not something anybody else will do. I will answer any and all of your questions. I will give you good answers to them all. I wish people would offer me that same promise. You can challenge me on anything. If you think you've got a better way of understanding things, let's talk about it. You present yours, I'll present mine. You explain. Let me ask you questions, and you ask me any questions you want, and we'll see which thing stands, Oh yeah, of course. I mean, that's our tool function, Aga. Knowing where to pin down and stuff. No one wants an argument. Well, then they should stop claiming to have anything correct. You know, they should stop claiming to be correct. To the extent that they disagree with me, they should acknowledge that they should be spending their time learning from me rather than talking about cognitive functions. Because otherwise, they're just spreading their half-assery all around. Right, well, I'll answer all the questions. Sometimes the answer will be, I don't know. Occasionally, I suppose the answer might be, that's private, I'm not going to answer that. But it would have to be a really, like, questions about my finances or something, maybe. Well, it is an argument. Look, anytime somebody's making claims and backing them up with justifications, they're making arguments. But it doesn't have to be an argument in the colloquial sense of two people yelling at each other, right? But the problem is that I have is it's like the analogy that comes to mind at the moment is the one I used before, which is it's like I'm dealing with people, each of whom have their own made-up form of kung fu that they've been practicing at home. Meanwhile, I'm Mike Tyson, or like maybe a better boxer than Mike Tyson. You know, I'm Mayweather or something. And it's like, of course they don't want to get into the ring with me. Fine. But then stop claiming that they're the best fighters in the world. You know? I don't want to get in the ring with them either. I want them to stop pretending like they're fighting world championship bouts and learn how to actually box. You know? If you're gonna, because the thing is, they're making claims about boxing. They're making claims about themselves as boxers, about what they've done in the ring, about what it means. But they're not boxing. Yeah, they're positioning themselves as experts, and actually conversing with me would expose them. Well, I like the way you said it better. It's more clear. I'm just full of analogies. Oh, Mr. Analogy, analogizing again.
I like Mr. Analogy.
Thanks, darling.
You're welcome.
I love you with my emotions.
Oh, I love you with mine.
I love you with my F.I.
Oh my god.
That's the most introverted of all my feelings.
So introverted.
Well, then, she should interview me. I mean, the thing is, think about this. Think about what you just said, Genexiel. I don't think I've heard Joyce make claims about correctness. She just talks about MBTI. That's like me just talking about math without claiming to actually be right about it. You know, 2 + 5 is 12 sometimes. That's me just talking about math. I'm not making claims about being right about it. I'm just saying, let's talk today about how 2 + 5 = 12. What? Yeah, it's probably Brad. She's probably using too many Brads when she's putting together her construction paper book.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, if you're gonna talk about a subject, implicit to that is that yes, you're making claims that you're right. Oh, Aga wants a tarot cards.
Sure. Which ones do you think we should use?
I wish we had a scrotum deck. That featured different pictures of my scrotum.
Oh, we could do that.
But we don't have that deck,
No,
so
we don't have that deck.
we'll have to just.
Well, right next to me is the small one.
Okay, that sounds good then. That's right next to you.
Oh, we can use yours.
I'm not gonna get this though.
Oh.
I'm going to pull out these and give her one of these cards.
Cool.
Okay. Are you ready? You're going to get a card from this deck of homemade cards. No, I'm not saying nobody can talk about it but me. I'm saying if you're going to talk about it seriously, and you're going to be talking to other people about it seriously, you better be including me in the discussion, right? Or else you're not talking about it seriously. This is the card you got, Aga. It's called Operation Affirm. These are cards that we made that I just named them things. So maybe you need to affirm someone today. Maybe you need affirming. Maybe affirmation is the hat that you're wearing today. Does that look exactly like you, or is it just me? I think it looks exactly like you with a hat on. Oh, this says Operation Affirm, so, I mean, you got an affirmation to the question on Frank Future. Alright. Now I'll give you one on ENTJ ISFP relationships. ENTJ ISFP relationships is this one. And what is this a picture of? Patience. You have to be patient in that relationship. If you are, maybe it will pay off. Like whatever that gunk that person's holding it is. Okay, now let's let Rachel come over here and do it with real tarot cards. Anybody else want one of these before I put them away? Peter didn't teach you. I know you want one. You want it. You want me to give it to you hard. I'm not going to get the same one. Oh, this one fell out. This one Cameron drew. This is called Patron of Cantos, which is to say, the patron of songs. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. It's not... Okay, I'll do one for your ISFP guy, sure. Operation Conclude. I don't know if that means in the relationship or bed him or what. If you haven't bedded him yet, maybe it means consummate this dating. If you have already bedded him, it probably means time to cut him off. Time to cut off open door policy to your vagina. Rachel, do you have any cards you want to come over here and do?
Here. I'm a coming.
Also, this is for the world. This card is for everybody.
Wow. Does it mean to fly into...
Let's see what it says on the back. Leviathan of Waters.
I love our cards.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Alright, you have your seat there. You take over the captain's chair.
Hey, everybody.
You may remember Rachel from such relationships as Eric and Rachel, lovers, wives, husbands.
Okay, Aga's cards first. I might need your help in describing.
Sure. Oh, hi, Lilu.
Lilu's out in front?
Yeah, Lilu's in the front.
Aga, ooh.
X.
That's the Wheel of Fortune.
It means the tarot has no useful information for you, Aga. That's my interpretation of the Wheel of Fortune. It's like, hey girl, it's a crapshoot. You gotta kiss a lot of frog penis before you find your prince.
Yeah. I agree.
It says, "We are all at the mercy of fate. Don't struggle against your destiny. As time passes, the situation will improve."
I mean, of the three, obviously you need to get with Frank James. And
Yeah,
listen,
Frank James. I mean, I think honestly, you guys, first of all, would be so cute together. And being with an ENTP for him and you, I mean, I think for him would be so much fun. He's just so, like,
you know what? I've got a really good idea. Okay, I want you and me to make a video where you're in the autonomy room, but you have your camera off. Okay, and I'm gonna say, you know, Frank James's girlfriend, next girlfriend, in 3 minutes, like something like that. And then I'll talk about you for a couple minutes and why INFJ ENTP is the best relationship really fast. And then I'll say, who is this woman? And then you turn on the camera and you say, "Hi, my name's Olga, and I'm looking forward to meeting you, Frank." And then we just end the video like that.
she's down for it.
All right, let's do it. We'll do it after this. We have to do it like soon. Like, all right, we'll end this stream in like 7 minutes, okay?
Okay, I'm going to pull a card for Frank James, for ENTJ, and ISFP for each of three Aga's men. Can you help me?
Yeah. You don't want to let me smoke a cigarette.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's fine.
Oh. Here, pick three.
3 cards. All right.
One's for Frank, one's for the ENTJ, and one's for the ISFP.
When this came out, it was when you said ENTJ.
Oh, 3 of Cups. So you might have a lot of fun with the ENTJ, but there are 2 other women in this picture, so it might be 3's a crowd.
Plus, apparently ENTJs like mermaids. This is for the ISFP.
Ooh, ISFP. Knave of Clubs. So you also might be having fun creatively with this ISFP. He might come up with like new novel ideas that you like.
This one comes out for Frank James.
And Frank James, ooh, the star.
Ooh.
That's hope. And when you don't see any light, it gives you hope. It's a major arcana. So,
Alright, I don't know for sure. I'm just speculating. But he is an INFJ male, which means you might have to be willing to spank him a few times.
your natal card is the star. So let me read what the star. The universe sings its eternal song of hope and beauty. Listen and find your own harmonic place in the cosmos. So that's for your 3 men.
Is that offensive to INFJ men? Probably. I have no idea what they are into. I don't mean to suggest that I have any reason to believe that, except that they seem kind of soft,
They are. Somehow I think of like Frank James really enjoying his cardigans. I enjoy a good cardigan.
Do you think Frank James would wear Tough Skins brand pants? I think he would. I think Frank James, you might catch someday Frank James in a pair of Tough Skins pants. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up. Aga, can you meet me in autonomy? This isn't anything fun on my nose. It's just coffee creamer. So thanks for being here, everybody. Let's go get Aga a boyfriend. I'll see you in autonomy in a few minutes. Where am I? Here. End stream. Goodbye. I thank you again for your kind donation. I greatly appreciate it. You're a gentleman, a scholar, and a reader of fine literature.